It's Friday!
Friday!
Thursday.
No, yesterday
Saturday.
it was Thursday.
No.
Today it is Friday.
Please don't.
Tomorrow is Saturday.
Please
and
no.
someday...
You know what year it isn't?
What?
2012 when that was a thing.
It's Fanfiction Friday!
I knew that.
Good job. Good job.
I knew it, that's why I clapped. I was excited.
You will be quizzed at the end of the video as to what day it is. So remember. Welcome to another edition of Fanfiction Friday, starring me and her and him. Good job. You still don't know our names, but at least you know who we are.
I'm him.
He's him, she's her, I'm me.
Wow.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the concept of Fanfiction Friday, we basically have 3 hats where we put in randomized suggestions from our audience, aka you, featuring characters, scenarios, and locations that are completely independent of each other. Then we draw out 2 characters, 1 scenario, and 1 location every week and write a fanfiction in 30 minutes or less. It's pretty fun, pretty simple, pretty easy. It slices, it dices, it tickles your fandom vices.
1995.
Yes. 6 easy payments of $19.95. Patreon.com. Without further ado, let's get it fucking going. So, my fanfiction this week stars the characters Alistair from Dragon Age, suggested by Yost, and Han Solo, suggested by Casey5693.
Casey5693?
The location was in a desert, suggested by Vladis, and the scenario was...
Vladis?
Sounds like Vladimir and Gladys.
Yeah, like they had an ugly name, baby.
Oh, I'm Vladis.
Maybe we should not be insulting our viewer base.
I just like that name.
Wait,
Do
hang
you?
on. When was the insult?
I'm just saying.
Vladimir's cool.
Is
Vladis
it?
is cool.
Vladimir Putin is a bad
I want to talk about
man.
that Vladimir.
Yeah. it's
Well,
a
what
different
Vladimir are you talking about?
Vlad. You know Vlad?
The Impaler?
Oh,
Yeah.
much better
He
guy.
was an
Pretty neat.
excellent ruler to his people.
Wait.
Everyone else got killed.
Was
and
Vlad the
drained of blood.
Impaler what Dracula was based off of?
Yes, because he drank his
Think
enemy's
of all the
blood.
think of all the great stories we got out of that, and if we didn't have stories, where would we be with this video?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Mariana, you take it for granted.
We'd be living in a cave, you're right. No internet. So thank you, Vlad the Impaler,
Thank
for
you,
all
Gladys.
you do.
Thank you, Vladis.
And thank you,
Gladys.
Vladis.
At least if we lived in a cave, we'd have a place to live.
My scenario was trying to prevent third impact, suggested by Neon Swaglord Chen.
We are gonna be best friends.
Swaglord.
Gladys.
Yeah, me and Swag go way back. I had a bit of difficulty with this because I don't like Ava. I saw like the first 10 episodes and I don't know shit about it because it's pretentious as fuck. So I just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of made some assumptions as to what it was.
You're being judged by a fat man wearing a Butts shirt right now.
Oh my god, it's like the internet's right here in my living room.
We are the comments.
Yes.
First,
You suck.
where is the episode?
Go to the gym!
Where's the
Go to
episode
gym,
that
you
came
suck.
out?
Don't care about bitches!
Which one's your wife?
Only want hairy fat men!
Oh, hell no, a bunch of bitches gonna bust some ghosts.
Anyway, so without further ado, here's my fanfiction, starring Alistair, Han Solo, in the desert, trying to prevent third impact. Alistair's mouth hung agape with little regard to his dignity, panting heavily against the heat as they sat in the sun. Trees were nowhere to be seen, just dead brush and rocks and sand, as far as anyone could see, before the horizon was broken up by a mountain range in the distance. I'm gonna murder both of you in your sleep. He had never encountered a climate quite like this one in the entirety of his 25 years of existence, and his already sun-kissed skin scorched slowly as his partner looked fruitlessly for answers.
Freaking lucky sun.
I know, I wish I could kiss Alistair.
I wish I was the sun.
You want to kiss Alistair too?
I just want to give life to millions of planets.
Alright,
Oh.
sentimental
That
Jones.
was too much.
Yeah. That's too deep for right now.
Too
This is Fanfiction Friday. This is not Philosophical Friday. It was an odd choice for Alistair to have supported the rebellion. His family liked to claim that they were from a long line of imperial officers, but given the fact that the Empire had only been around for about 30 years, that made it difficult to believe. The stories over the dinner table about how his Uncle Gary had somehow escaped the Death Star before it blew up was quite a popular one at the dinner table, and its endless retelling in the few years after the Empire's fall was quite a wake-up call for him.
So where does this take place exactly in the timeline?
This is after the first trilogy. It's not quite when the First Order is taken seriously, I think.
Okay, so the Empire's gone.
Yes. It has been a while since I wrote this.
Okay.
The stories over the dinner table about how his Uncle Gary had somehow escaped the Death Star before it blew up was quite a popular one at the dinner table, and its endless retelling in the few years after the Empire's fall was quite a wake-up call for him. Really, did anyone else not think that naming something the Death Star was a little ominous? Maybe an indication of something gone wrong within your government? Alistair was not one to call Palpatine a villain. After all, before he was the Emperor, he was a senator. And before he was a senator, he was a businessman. What was his name? Flump? Trump? Drumpf?
Oh, no. His name was Sheev.
Shush. With your fucking cannon. It's a joke. About how if we vote President Trump into office, we will get the Death Star.
I feel like we've had, like, 4 stories that have had that theme.
Probably.
I'm not saying it's wrong.
There was no such thing as a villain in real life, just a corruptible man. But naming something the Death Star sure seemed pretty fucking villainous to him. Regardless, skipping past all the boring bits about his long struggle and personal journey to get to this moment, Alistair was here. Wherever here was. Accompanying him was General Han Solo, trying to investigate a terrorist operation that was only known by its code name, Third Impact.
The irony of the rebels investigating terrorist organizations, I gotta say, that's pretty sweet.
Right? I just want to point out that I did not actually capitalize General. So it's just like a general, like a generic Han Solo
This is a
out of a
sort of thing.
It's just like a costume bag where it's like vested hero. The current most popular theory among their intelligence officers was that it was a plot conceived by just a handful of radicals calling themselves the First Order to get their name buzzing around in the galaxy as some sort of real threat. But regardless of their inclination to believe that the danger was not real, they were still there. In the desert, trying to find information that most likely did not exist. Solo plopped down on a rock near Alistair, his sweaty hair flavored with a dash of salt and pepper. His eyes gazed across the horizon. Any
Salt
joy?
and pepper in his hair.
What?
Yeah, it's like a...
I know it's a thing. I was making a bad joke.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good.
it was a strange choice of words for me. I was like, oh, look at
Flavored
how
with
clever
salt
I
and
am.
pepper.
Flavored.
He
I
had
like...
a side of chips with his hair as well.
I mean, to be fair, I would love to lick Han Solo, so...
Oh.
That's not true, actually. I love him physically, but
Oh.
emotionally, he's kind of an asshole. A ruffian.
Love to lick his asshole.
To be
Again,
continued.
Assholes everywhere.
Hey, come
No.
on. If it's Trump or assholes, technically they go together.
There's a difference between a butthole and an asshole.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Is
come on.
there?
Yeah. An asshole is a person. A butthole is a thing
Right.
that is attached to a
Buttholes
person.
can be people too, don't
I mean, but like the severity of the offense.
Selling buttholes short, I believe.
I think so too.
I mean, buttholes stink and they're dirty, but assholes are fucking disgusting.
This has gone too far.
I'm just saying. Leave your opinions on buttholes versus assholes in the comments, and we'll ignore it.
Level 2K16.
Any joy? Alistair asked, though he knew the answer. Han knew that he knew the answer, so he decided not to answer, glancing up at him with silent intention before pulling out a small canteen of water. Yeah, I didn't think so. A moment of silence passed between them. Alistair felt the hairs on his arms prickle, still uncomfortable in the presence of such a decorated war hero, no matter how much of a scoundrel he was rumored to be.
General scoundrel.
Well, at least in this case, we know that Han Solo is probably not going to back Alistair into a corner and make him out. Make him
Make
out.
him out.
Make him out.
He's gonna be like, I can't make you out.
He's like,
Get
where
really
are
close
you?
to you.
His squinted butthole eyes. It's kind of a tough plan to follow, if you ask me. The young man continued, and the old man continued to ignore him. We don't know where, we don't know when, but something bad might happen. We don't even know if this is the 3rd time it's happened, but we'll say it will. So you can imagine that something catastrophic has happened in the past, and you'll have to wonder, shit, is there any way they can outdo that? I get it, kid, Hans said, getting to his feet as he took a swig of water. No, really, the younger man insisted. Like, what sort of code name is that? Picture the worst thing imaginable and then multiply it by 3. Are these terrorists in primary school or something? Have they not learned how to multiply beyond 3? I mean, not that I'm one to talk, but look,
What are we talking about? 3? What?
it's
Third
Third
Impact.
Impact.
Oh, okay.
Look, I'm all for bitching about the job too, Solo said, walking towards their ship, seemingly the only source of shade on this maker-forsaken planet. Oh, that was something I was so excited about when I wrote this. I was like, Star Trek, or Star...
Oh no!
Oops, I'm a fake gamer girl.
Kick that woman off the internet.
Star Wars and fucking Dragon Age, what if they share a god? Because C-3PO is always like, make her preserve us, or something, you know?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
right.
true.
Yeah. But we're not talking about restocking shelves or picking produce. This could be people's lives at stake. His voice was low and gravelly, as if sharing a sexy secret. I'd rather find nothing than find a few thousand bodies.
Sexy.
Heat crept into Alistair's ears, and he nodded. Yes, that's, very true. Come on, kid. Han didn't look back, stepping onto the loading ramp and waiting for the other to join him. Alistair walked past him and took his seat in the back of the cockpit, the General's Wookiee companion waiting silently for their return. He made a gargling noise that Alistair interpreted as a question regarding their findings. Nothing this time, unfortunately, Alistair sighed, and then corrected himself as his senior words echoed in his mind. Or, fortunately, I guess. The pilot's chair groaned once Han was back in it, flipping switches and casually asking about their launch checklist. Soon they were back in the stars, the blue of the planet's atmosphere melting to a deep, bottomless black speckled by flickering lights. Alistair crossed over to a viewport, brows meeting in confusion as he squinted at something he hadn't noticed before. A large asteroid greeted them once they were well outside the planet's atmosphere. At first glance, there wasn't much of anything to notice about it, but as they passed, Alistair noticed 3 perfect circular additions to the back of the rock. In a dark black, difficult to see when the light of the planet was not reflecting well onto the asteroid, letters and numbers were clearly painted above the additions. N3RD1MPCT. Han. Chewie. Alistair's voice was clear, free of any of its normal humor. You might want to take a look at this. And that's it.
Have you ever licked a lightsaber in winter?
Don't ever do that. Why
Unless
would
you want
you
a fork
do
tongue.
that?
I got a computer cake. It's a cake that it's also a computer, but somebody ate it. Hey, boss.
So, this week, I got Cowboy Hat Ryu, which was recommended by Ronald Ham.
I'm so excited to
Aw.
see how his wardrobe choice affects his personality.
You think Ronald Ham and Ronald McDonald are friends, and that's where Ronald McDonald got the idea for hamburgers?
Are you friends with Martin Freeman?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
When is he coming over?
He didn't like my idea for hamburgers.
And then the other one is Gaston.
Hey!
I don't know.
Wait, like the Disney character or the storm?
The Disney character.
Oh, I thought it would just be a hurricane.
No.
And Cowboy Hat Ryu's just fighting to keep his hat on.
No.
In the eye of a hurricane,
That would be hard to do because they're in a laundry room.
Wait, it takes place in the laundry room?
Laundry room is
Okay.
where it takes place, and
He washes his cowboy hat.
we'll
You
find
can't
out.
Wash a cowboy.
Spoilers. I can't tell you that right now.
Oh my god!
And
Martin.
then the scenario is cast as the lead in a musical. Gaston had been doing as many chores around the house as he could. This week was going about as bad as it ever could have, and his roommate was staying respectfully quiet about how wonderful his week seemed to be going. The whirring of the dryer was as loud as the thoughts in Gaston's mind, building and building until it was an opus of annoying thoughts that had him seeing red. Ah! Gaston yelled as he brought both fists down on top of the washing machine. His emotions had not only had Ryu come running to the obvious sound of distress, but left 2 dents in the top of the door of the washer, shutting it off mid-cycle,
The fuck?
immediately stopping the noise.
Ryu thinks it's a bonus stage and starts beating up the washing machine.
Immediately stopping half the noise buzzing in the room. Gaston, are you alright?
Perfect.
Ryu said, coming into the room. Gaston clicked his tongue dismissively. It's nothing. What in God's name are you wearing, man? He said as a confused expression took over his face. Oh, this? Ryu said, smiling and tipping the large cowboy hat perched atop his head. Yes,
Gaston.
that.
I like that Gaston is so morally offended by the cowboy
Why
hat.
would you wear such a
like,
thing?
what the
It's
fuck?
it's coming.
How
It's
dare
coming.
you?
Did his parents get killed by a cowboy
You're
hat?
gonna find out. I can't tell spoilers for sure. It's a cowboy hat. I figured I should get used to wearing some articles of clothing that I'm not used to, especially since I'm going to be in the... Ryu stopped himself mid-sentence and looked at the ground. He was happy to have been cast in Oklahoma, but knowing that Gaston was trying to go for the role of Curly McLean as well made it a bit of a tense situation between them. Ryu stood in the doorway for a few silently tense moments until Gaston lifted his gaze that had been transfixed on the dents in the washing machine.
I'm lifting my gaze.
No, in this case, gaze is spelled
Yeah,
G-A-Y-S.
it's lifting them.
I can't afford to fix this until I get my paycheck next week, he said as he started to walk towards the door. Gaston, Ryu said, putting his arm against the frame forcefully while looking at the ground.
Oh.
No, Gaston said, again trying to push his arm out of the way. Gaston was not a slight man, but he didn't have much in the way of formal training with much aside from bar brawls and hunting. Ryu was not going to continue walking on eggshells around his roommate. He knew that this was a matter of pride.
5 dozen eggshells.
He knew this was a matter of pride, but not having the hard conversation would only drive a wedge between them. Gaston stood back after his failed attempt got him no further than before. Ryu tried once again to say his friend's name, but as he lifted his head with his eyes peeping out from underneath the ridiculous cowboy hat, it was only another reminder of the role that Gaston should have gotten, driving him wild with anger.
He's just as entitled in this universe as he is in Beauty and the Beast.
He's
I
like
know.
your average actor.
His seemingly calm stance led to a flailing of arms combined with yelling and wide eyes, starting to lay blows into Ryu's torso. "How could you?" Gaston said as he drove fist after fist into an unmoving and unaffected Ryu. Ryu knew that this was the start of the conversation, and Gaston had never been one to wait out emotions. Gaston knew any regular punch he threw would have little effect on his ripped roommate, so he hauled back into an almost cartoonish attempt to put more force behind the punch that he aimed at Ryu's face.
Why, Ayana?
It was then that Ryu knew he would have to act, as a broken bone in his face was meant to hurt his chances of being the lead in the play. "Are you so childish?" Ryu said after swiftly grabbing his roommate's arm. Twisting his wrist backward, Ryu kept his distance but looked at Gaston with piercing eyes. "Are you so childish that you..."
Yeah.
Wow, that was not
You
a
tell him.
good, like, word.
They just started making out.
He's like, are you so childish that you would...
"Are you so childish that you would see me harmed, after everything I did to help you?" Gaston was strong as any gym buff, but emotionally he was a wreck. It was chance alone that Ryu found him at the bottom of the cliff near the beast's castle, and sheer luck that he survived the fall.
Fuck.
It was Gaston's fault that Ryu had come to enjoy singing, and it had never been rivalry that drove him to practice daily or start trying to apply his martial arts to dance moves.
This is a sequel.
I know, right?
Cowboy hat for you. It's just hanging out in, like, 1800 France.
Hey man, they got around. There's
They're
streets
sharing
everywhere.
an
They have to
apartment.
fight in them.
Shared an apartment together, apparently have washing and drying machines.
Oh
Who
my
knows?
God.
No one lives forever like Gaston.
Why can't I ever have what I want? Why does someone else always come to take it from me?
The white man has a point.
Gaston said, tears starting to blind his vision from emotional and physical pain. It's not a matter of taking something away from you. It is not a matter of taking something away from you. If you want to have something, earn it, Ryu said, releasing his grip. Gaston began massaging his sprained wrist as Ryu continued. You cannot win respect by fighting lesser men and saying you are stronger. You cannot declare love and demand it returned. If you want anything, you must fight every day to become stronger, kinder, and keep yourself in check. Gaston knew this all along, but was still coming to terms with the fact that the person he was can no longer exist. Gaston slumped onto the floor, a loud buzzer going off to indicate the dryer had finished with its cycle. Am I ever going to be better than this?
No!
Why?
Why?
Oh no!
Gaston asked rhetorically to the room that had now gone silent. Ryu extended his hand down to Gaston. You will, with time. Gaston looked up to see Ryu's stupid cowboy hat surrounded in light, possibly foretelling of a brighter tomorrow.
They're gonna fuck.
His cowboy hat was symbolic in the end.
It was.
For those of you who don't understand why we had such a visceral reaction to that line, there's a movie called We Are Your Friends, and it's very shitty. And
It's like the most garbage movie, but also is great to listen to for the music. It has really interesting information about being a DJ that's actually
In one
correct.
scene.
in one singular scene,
And that's
the
like-
rest of it is just
Yeah.
Zac Efron looking painfully into the distance.
Waxing
Yes.
poetic.
Yes.
And,
And-
the one guy from Hunger Games being like, let me spew out pretentious bullshit. Bleh. But that being said, it's a really good bad movie. So get drunk and watch the shit out of it.
Are we ever gonna be better than this?
I don't know. Let's find out, Martin.
My story features the characters PaRappa the Rapper
Oh.
Yo.
from back in the PlayStation 1 days, and technically PlayStation 2 days as well, if you count PaRappa the Rapper 2. Aurum Jamalami, also a classic in my opinion. And the character Sherlock, suggested by Samantha Girl Scout. I chose to interpret it as the modern day Sherlock from the show of the same name. The location was a bomb shelter, which is suggested by Silver Salamance 10.
Wow. She's getting a lot of FaceTime recently.
A lot of word time.
Yeah.
And the scenario was just married, suggested by Rumia.
No.
The game is afoot. Alright, the game is starting to get afoot. I want you to show me if you can get good. Sherlock Holmes had been standing amidst the crime scene for a good 5 minutes before anyone noticed his presence. Nearly anyone else would have been picked out in a crowd at a moment's notice and escorted from the grisly scene forthwith, but not Sherlock.
And not PaRappa the rapper, apparently.
He looked like he belonged here, amongst the rot and the dank, the guilt and the misery, able to stare unblinking at the gruesome remains of the two happily married victims, both lying side by side as if it was their honeymoon. The words "just married" were painted upon the walls in a slick, sickly crimson.
Wait, is PaRappa the detective?
I need a list of any and everyone who came in and out of this bunker in the last 7 days. Sherlock commanded a nearby member of the police force that he had absolutely no authority over whatsoever. The policeman saluted all the same. And anyone who has access. You gotta grab the list of the names now, son, so we can learn about the victim. Victims, corrected Sherlock, addressing the two-dimensional cartoon puppy wearing an orange beanie.
Oh my god.
The unhappy couple. Till death do they part.
Oh no.
Everyone noticed PaRappa the moment he arrived with Sherlock. Unlike the world's greatest detective, and I wrote unlick, by the way. Unlick the
PaRappa
world's
is a
greatest
dog.
detective. There was something very distracting about the presence of a beatboxing animated canine that drew people's attention away from the murdered couple. Watson had been out of town for a few days on an errand, and while Sherlock liked to pretend he didn't long for anyone else's company but his own, surveying a crime scene of any sort without his old friend almost felt like playing chess without an opponent, laborious and unsatisfactory. Certainly he would solve this case in no time, but without someone to throw his thoughts at, it made the whole experience far less enjoyable. Far less enjoyable, he thought to himself as he examined the bride's brain matter, staining the fabric of her wedding veil. Both their heads had been exploded, either from the outside, which seemed the far more logical explanation, or on the inside. And while that seemed like a definite impossibility, Sherlock wasn't about to rule it out as being entirely improbable. What causes a husband and wife to spend their honeymoon in such a grim suite as this? Sherlock observed the confines of the shelter. There was a rudimentary kitchen and bathroom, and an old-fashioned television set up in the corner. Hardly a 5-star experience by any means, but the necessities were there. Sherlock could have probably lived quite efficiently by himself down here, without any of the simple folk to nag at him with their base problems and concerns. And if they didn't do this to themselves, how did someone manage to infiltrate the shelter without any sign of tampering with the door mechanism? All right, we're here, just checking out the murder. I'm not sure we got enough proof to go further. PaRappa bounced energetically to a happy beat, seemingly produced by his own lyricisms. Every time Sherlock had made some comment or another, the rapping hound, not of the Baskervilles this time, would repeat or respond with his own musical variation of a sentence or two. Sherlock...
Is he like Duke Devlin where he has his own theme music that plays?
Yes.
While he speaks?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And sometimes it doesn't stop. Sherlock had begrudgingly brought PaRappa along after Watson had taken his leave. Why bring a rapping cartoon mascot to a brutal murder scene? Well, Sherlock had posted on Watson's blog that he required someone to look into a place where bombs could be dropped safely, namely the bomb shelter. PaRappa had responded enthusiastically. In fact, his was the only response, so by default Sherlock had been forced to select him as an investigative partner, because in PaRappa's parlance, he loved to drop bombs.
No. So wait, what other fantastical characters are in this universe? The possibilities are endless.
I wish they would end.
Last scene.
The last scene. It's just dogs. All
It's just,
things-
like, it's Sherlock and then all dogs in every form of media.
Sherlock X, all dogs in every
Cujo
form.
is there.
Cujo?
Cluedo.
Cluedo.
Goofy. Who
Did you just
Caitlyn
say
thought...
Cluedo?
I did say Cluedo.
Oh no! Caitlyn thought Goofy was a cow.
What?
She thought Goofy was a cow.
Like, when?
Yesterday.
Don't look at me.
I mean, I understand the confusion, because
I thought it was-
Clarabelle.
Yeah, because Clarabelle's
I
a
mean,
cow, and I was
like-
like, oh, it's probably two
it's
cows
weird.
hooking up.
It's weird that a dog wants to fuck a cow, but Goofy's still a dog.
Right. I can't begin to get my head around this case with all your insufferable chanting. Sherlock turned and squinted, retracting his oddly chiseled face into his neck, spawning a multitude of chins that bristled beneath his jawline like an accordion. Unless you have anything useful to offer in this ridiculous repertoire, I'd thank you to step outside and let me do my job. Kick, punch, it's all in the mind. Sherlock froze in place. What did you just say? If you want to test me, I'm sure that... No. What did you just say? Just now. Sherlock stood up and clapped his hands about the incredible dog's shoulders. Kick, punch, it's all in the what? It's all in the mind? PaRappa asked, confusion streaking his razor-thin forehead. That's it, Sherlock announced. He scoured the room, making note of any inconsistencies. He had already gotten access to the shelter's blueprints, and therefore knew exactly what was supposed to be here, which made it all the more easy to zero in on the things that weren't. Aha! There! Sherlock reached up and emphatically slapped one of the ventilation pipes that allowed whoever lived down here to still breathe as efficiently as if they resided above ground.
Yeah, breathing.
It had been altered. The filtration system had been compromised, with some sort of foreign equipment strapped to the underside facing the wall. The killer used their love of mid-20th century bomb shelters to lure them here to their untimely demise, Sherlock announced to the room.
He's sounding very Bakura-esque.
That's right, the guy. He killed them with their love. He wanted to show them how he could act tough. Thank you, Mr. the Rapper, Sherlock acknowledged gratefully. PaRappa here gave me the clue I needed. He said it was all in the mind. And you see it was. The killer pumped this room full of mind-altering gases that caused their paranoia to drive them to the brink of madness. They locked themselves down here, and all the killer had to do was reach behind the locked door up here. Sherlock tapped the side of his cranium. It was all in their mind. That's right, they shot each other in the face. I want you to show me that we solved the case. Sherlock PaRappa the Rapper went on to try and solve another dozen crimes, in which PaRappa proved to be completely useless. Sherlock was very grateful for Watson upon his return.
Maybe the stuff, like the gas, was still present, and he was just hallucinating.
That's what I'm thinking is really happening.
But he was still there for a dozen cases? That must have been, like...
It lingers.
Really strong stuff.
I mean, Sherlock is an opiate abuser. So.
Yeah.
That's true. He is actually...
Maybe this just triggered him into a new downfall.
It's all in the mind, guys.
Thanks again for joining us for Fanfiction Friday, everybody!
You're like the main character and we are your friends.
Oh, you can have more friends too if you continue to watch. Oh, yeah.
And if you'd rather not watch and you just want to read the stories, go to Archive of Our Own and look up 3 Hats, which is the method in which we pick out stuff for the stories.
But if you want to also take part and contribute to what we're doing, you can provide suggestions such as names of characters, names of locations, and types of scenarios in the YouTube comment section below. But please remember not to have all of those suggestions depend on each other to work in a coherent story. They need to be able to work independently.
Do not have Van Gogh and Pablo Picasso inside of a painting discussing how much their art sucks. It just won't work.
By the way, sorry for saying Moomins were created in Norway. They were clearly created in Finland.
Yeah.
And obviously, and Excalibur is obviously not from Fairy Tale. He's from Soul Eater. Obviously,
the weird thing is I was going to correct you, but I was actually no. I was going to mention that's weird because there's an Excalibur in Soul Eater, but I didn't want to distract from the show.
Every anime has an Excalibur somewhere.
Also, here's the most shameful part of the Moomin thing for you. You bought me a fucking Moomin cup when you were in Finland.
I just thought maybe they liked Moomins then.
Yeah?
It's all in the mind!